my slips, my falls, my trials and tribulations, my heart, my balls, my somebody stop me, somebody come and get me. Little did I know that the Lord was riding with me. The dark, the light, my heart, the fight, the wrong, the right is gone.
Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Leggett representing Team JVS. I'm back again for another movie review. This movie is called Dark Waters. This was directed by Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes, I think the most notable one that I can remember would be Carol, which I think he got a Golden Globe nomination for, as well as the Bob Dylan feature, I'm Not There. But this one is surrounding a true-to-life story. The synopsis reads: a corporate defense attorney takes on an environmental lawsuit against a chemical company that exposes a lengthy history of pollution. One of the things I'll say about so notable about this is that from the first trailer, I was already captivated by it, because I was like, did this really actually happen, and why is it not everywhere? Like, why is it the situation with Teflon not everywhere? Why is the situation with this location not everywhere? And it was kind of like, it was too terrifyingly messed up to even comprehend while I was watching it. Progressively, I was just like, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And like, as the years go by, one thing I think that hits home with this is when you see the time bar just at the very top left, that it shows the progression of just how inflated and how messed up things are happening throughout, and how this corporation and its connections with the government and all these other things led to not just the deaths of people, but the deformities, the loss, and the incurable diseases that progressed through this entire situation. It's just unbelievable, I think, from a reality standpoint. And then towards the end of the movie, you know, they go into more detail about certain things that I'm not going to spoil here, but Robert Bilott, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, is a real life person that this happened to, and he was the defense attorney that was working initially with the chemical organization, and then all of a sudden this person named Wilbur Tennant, was played by Bill Camp, came to his office one day and was like, look, I know your grandmother, she said that you're an amazing lawyer, I know this is this or that, but I need you to do something about this, because this is happening. When you first see Wilbur and they go back to the farm, and like, I know I'm kind of doing this a little bit differently, because this movie in and of itself is not something that's like, it's the best movie of the year, but I think it's so informative, and I think it's so important that people probably have missed this movie, and you have to see this movie. It's very important. It's not just like, oh man, this performance shines out of everybody, or this scenery shines out of everybody, or this score shines. No, the movie itself is so important that it merits me focusing on these certain things and these aspects of the film. But when Wilbur Bennett takes Robert to his farm, and he's like, what is these graves everywhere? And he was like, how many cows have you lost? He was like, 190. And he was like, what? And like, he just couldn't believe it. And then there's a situation that happens with one of the cows, and the cows like legit start to lose its mind. And like, he had to put the cow down. Like, it was then it was like the reality starts to set in, like, what is really happening. Even the opening shot of the film that took place, I think, in the 70s, when you see some people just swimming in the water, and then you see like this boat just spraying stuff into the water, and you're like, what is really happening? By the end of the film, you realize it's not just secluded to this specific area, that it is affected everybody. And I think that that's the thing that hits home so well. Mark Ruffalo is also connected with Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway plays the role of Sarah, who's his wife. I think Anne Hathaway does a very nuanced performance. It's very realistic in the sense that, you know, somebody in his situation where it's trying to go and figure out how this happened, that's been literally been hid for years, up to 30 to 40 some years, and then I'm gonna go backtracking and stuff that he doesn't even understand, chemical aspects of stuff he doesn't understand, reconnaissance that he just is burdening in him. One of the things I'll say that Mark Ruffalo does really well is showing the stress without like him just freaking out. You know, like some people, like they have like a breaking point and they just explode. Like, he implodes, and it's such a subtle thing when something specifically happens towards the midway, and I'm like, I can tell, I could see that one thing that was happening, and I was like, man, this is terrible. And like, in the way that it happened, it was even crazier. Tim Robbins plays the role of Tom Terp, who's Robert's boss. Tim Robbins does a really good job. I think he does actually a very good job, because there's one moment that he was talking with his board members, and one of the members was like, Robert, you're so stupid, why are you even trying to do this? Like, this is just unethical, like, you shouldn't be doing this. And then all of a sudden Tim Robbins' character is like, what is right and what is wrong? Are these not facts? And it's like, when he had that moment, it was like, it was a perfect scene that Tim Robbins just nailed it. Victor Garber also plays a very interesting role when it comes to this company, because when you start to unearth certain things that are happening, that's when everything goes to a head. But as far as the film, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. The cinematography is very well done. It's very dark, tonally, and like literally how it's actually shot is very dark. It feels very bleak throughout the entirety of the film. Most of the film, I felt like levels of, like, I don't want to say depression, but like, you know, the before effect before you reach depression, like this feeling of hopelessness, this feeling of like loss of joy. That's where you feel continuously, because you're starting to see all these people that are getting affected, all these real lives that were like legitimately changed forever for greed, for somebody trying to do a tax write-off. And I think it hits home very well the way that it's actually paced. I think the pacing works very well. And I mean, honestly, from an adaptive screenplay standpoint, I think that this was worthy of being nominated, just because they're able to give me everything and I'll never forget it. You know what I'm saying? And even like the very last shot of it, it was kind of just so impactful that I was like, oh my gosh, this is insanity. The score was actually really beautiful. I think it hit home very well. It was hard. It was a rough movie to kind of get through and digest. And I think the reality of the fact that this actually is happening and this happened adds so much more weight to it. It makes me want to go back and look at the HBO show Chernobyl, because some people describe the same kind of thing but on a way grander scale, and I think I'm going to actually go and do that. But I would recommend you go and check out Dark Waters. I think it's an important film to watch. You don't want to miss it. If I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really much so enjoyed it, and I think it's one of the most important films this year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Have a blessed one, guys. Peace.